Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel Airbus What's It Doing Now. Today we're going to take a look at the all engine failure procedure, and this is a heads up for the briefing which I'm hoping to get out in the coming days. The whole purpose of these heads up, if you've been with the channel for a while, you've seen a few of these come about. The whole idea of these is to give you a heads up, obviously, of the content that's about to come up, covering some of the subjects. Will give you a flavour of the subjects that we're going to cover and some of the content, so that you're able then, if you've got any questions or if there are any areas that you want to look at specifically, then you can get in touch through the channel or through Facebook and Messenger, and if I can, I'll be able to tailor some of the content in order to answer some of those questions. And I find it really useful, because sometimes there's a common theme that comes up and I want to make sure that this is as relevant for you as possible. So I'm able then to sort of slightly tailor it. I've actually been looking at this for a little while now, but I've had a few comments recently from people saying, look, you know, when's it going to come, when's it going to come? So I thought I'd put a bit more effort into it and get this out sooner rather than later. So what are we going to have a look at then? So we'll have a look at the all engine failure at a typical cruise altitude. So this is where the crew have got time to start or an attempt to restart the engines on the aircraft. So we'll be at about 35,000 feet, something like that, and then we'll take a look at the procedure itself. But we'll also focus, I say focus, but have a look at the distinction and the difference between the all engine failure procedure and the emergency all engine failure, forced landing and ditching differences, which of course, if you look at the ditching and the forced landing QRH procedure specifically, they assume that engines are running, but the difference between those procedures and the ditching and forced landing at the end of the all engine failure procedure. All right, now that sounds a little bit technical, but actually when you look at this, it is a little bit confusing because there are some important differences between the all engine failure and the emergency landing all engine failure procedure, okay, because it depends on what altitude it happens and whether the crew deem that there's time to get the engine started. Okay, so we look at that and we clear all that up first, so that it's very clear about the different procedures that the QRH is and the ECAM is asking for. So the first thing we'll look at then is the decision to elect the all engine failure and emergency landing QRH procedure. A reminder of the technical considerations, such as flight on batteries and with and without rat power, so in the MO-elect config, and the hydraulic and bleed generation with and without the APU. So the reason this subject is taking such a long time to get out is because it covers a number of subjects, including electrics and hydraulics and flight control protection laws as well. So you know, this covers a lot of the really big meaty subjects we looked at much earlier on in the channel. So it's a great revision actually, and as with all things, when I put a presentation and a video briefing out there, I'll go into a lot of detail on it, and of course you can treat it then as a bit of a buffet lunch, and you can just take what you need or you can lap it all up. It's entirely up to you, depends on what areas that you think that you might want to focus on. So yeah, so you can expect it to be sort of a fairly lengthy video, I guess. So a reminder of the technical considerations, the APU limitations, electrical and bleed services, when they might be available. So we'll look at the APU envelope limitations, as well as the engine, windmill and bleed assist starts. We'll then review, with the help of the FCTM, the general philosophy of the QRH and ECAM procedure, and how it's written and why it's written in the way that it is, and it makes sort of a more logical sense when we go into it. The importance of priorities, the fly, the nav and the com, and what the crew will see. So when both engines fail immediately, what you will be presented with in order to help you with that FlyNavCom, and then when the rack comes online, the extra services that you might have. But ultimately, essentially, when you're in the MO-elect config, what you have to enable you to focus on those priorities is the fly, the nav, and the communication. So we'll look at the remaining systems essentially. Then we'll have a look at the windmill start and the windmill start envelope, which I mentioned just earlier on, and why both engines are started at the same time when we're windmilling, and that's the Airbus's preferred way of starting the engines is through the windmill, and why only one at a time when we're starting the engines with the assistance of the APU bleed, and why we have 30 seconds in between the engine starts in both cases. Okay, so we look at that, putting some real value and some real meat on the bone, as I like to say, and having an understanding of why we're doing these things. Then we'll have a look at the gliding distance calculations at 300 knots and at green dot with a 2 and a 2.5 times the altitude, looking at some calculations there. And if you're in the unreliable airspeed situation as well, a pitch attitude to aim for, and that might be if you're in volcanic ash, for example. That's something we covered some years ago. Then we'll take a look at the forced landing and ditching as part of the emergency landing all engine failure procedure, on the reverse of the normal checklist, used if the crew believe that there is insufficient time to attempt a relight and look for a spot to land, or a landing area. Ditching or forced landing, it's the Hudson checklist, as I call it, and some of the differences there. And just remember that the ditching and the forced landing checklist and the QRH assume engines running. I alluded to that earlier on. And then lastly, we will run through the QRH step by step with an explanation and expansion on the procedure, line by line, much like we did with the smoke drill, which covered earlier on in the series. So that's coming soon. It will be available in the members area of the channel. If you want to know how to get into that, I've put a link in the description below. But if you just head over to the head of the channel and press join, that will get you into the members area. Remember, you can come in and out of that side of the channel whenever it suits you. Thanks very much for watching. Keep the plate spinning. Stay safe. I look forward to talking to you again very soon. Hopefully this should be out in the next coming days. Bye for now.